Good evening, Celia and Dini. Good evening, folks. Hello, Peter Pan. How's it going? Good evening, Nisi Francis. Siabulelo. How's it, folks? You know how it works by now. Q&A, whatever you want to know on financial advice, ask the questions. Let's see if I can help you. First come, first serve. Let's see if we can get through everything tonight. Interesting names again that's coming through. Furniture Decor and Peter Pan and interesting. KKO has joined. Man, always interesting people names, or well, interesting profile names for that matter. But in any case, while I wait for the first question to come through, I am just checking up a couple of things here. Good evening, Kay and Sid and Q and Johnny and KKO. Is it a good time to buy US shares? KKO, I think whenever shares are down, then it is a good time to buy. The question is always, where is the lowest point? It's not that easy to know that. And I think I've said that a number of times in the past. I don't deal in shares, so I won't be able to say whether it's a good time to buy shares now. But yes, as a matter of fact, I think it's a good time anytime to invest, because whichever markets go down, history has proven that they always go up at some point. So KKO, I'm not going to give you a definite answer. Because if I tell you tonight, yes, it's an excellent time to buy shares, and the market goes down by another 20%, you're going to be very upset with me. So you should speak to a stockbroker if you want to really do that, and if you want to go into shares. Charlene, hi, what is the purpose of a channel account FNB? I have no idea, Charlene. I must be honest with you. I don't think I've ever heard of a channel account with FNB. And it's because I don't deal in bank products. I deal in financial advice, and I help people with investments and retirement annuities and all kinds of stuff like that. And I will tell people that they should go and take up a bank savings account or a money market account, but I don't deal in that, so I don't really know. Okay, please give some advice on wills and estates. Okay, let me just see here. Please give some advice on wills and estates if possible. Okay. Fantastic. That's something new to talk about, wills and estates. Okay, so let's start with regards to an estate. Everything that you own, every asset that you have, whether it is a movable asset like a car, motorbike or bicycle, whether it's a fixed asset, meaning that it's your house or a property, be it a business, be it your investments, your pension fund money, your shares, it doesn't matter. Everything makes up what we call your estate. So in the event that you pass away, all of those things, all of your assets needs to be given to somebody. Somebody can benefit from it after you have passed away. And now, in order to decide who should get what, you must draft the will. Very, very important, because in a will, you can go and specify and say, I'm giving my house to Johnny, and I'm giving my car to Susie, and I'm giving my savings account that I've got with the bank, I'm giving to my gardener, and I'm giving whatever. My business is going to my church because I want to bless them. You can choose what you want to do. But the most important thing with regards to a will is two things according to me. Number one is if you've got underage children, then you must make provision in your will for those children, and it must go into a trust, and you can make provision in that will for your trust. And you can say who the trustees is. Those are the people that are taking over the responsibility of the person whose children it is. So if you are married, then those trustees takes over mum and dad's responsibility, financial responsibility, to manage the kids' money. So that is the one very important thing, is that especially when it comes to children, you want to specifically say what must happen to their funds and how it must be managed. The second reason why it's so important to have a will is if you do not have a will, okay, then the inheritance, your estate, is divided based on law. So what does law say? Law says, first of all, If there's no will, it goes to your spouse. Okay? So you could be separated from your spouse. You could be busy going through a divorce, but your spouse will inherit it because you've passed away today. If there is no spouse, then it's children. If there's no children, and then if there's children and there is no will, then the state basically takes that money and put it in their guardian trust, and they decide how much your kids can get and when they can get and everything like that. If you don't have children, then it goes to the parents. So if it's not the parents, then it is the brothers and sisters. So there's a whole sequence of who will get what. Now, you might not want somebody to get something, but just because you don't have a will, they will inherit some of it. We actually had a very interesting situation only a few months ago, where somebody actually had a will, but the will was drafted 20 years ago, plus minus roughly. And they got divorced, they remarried, but they never redrafted their will. And so what happened is now, last year they passed away, or 2 years ago, not so long ago, they passed away. And then the will was the will was brought out, and the will said that my ex-wife still inherits. Because remember, this gentleman and his wife were still married when they had it. Then he got divorced, he married the new wife. And then when he passed away, everything went to the ex-wife. Now this ex-wife had just about nothing. And now suddenly she inherited his entire estate. And the new wife that he's been married to for the last 15, 16 years, she walked away with nothing because the will was not up to date. So it's absolutely extremely important for people to have a will, number one. And then in terms of a will, everything that belongs to you, everything that you own, makes up your estate. So that's just roughly with regards to wills and estate. I don't know what else I can tell you. There's lots I can tell you, make no mistake. For example, if your estate is less than 3.5 million rand, then you only pay executors fees and masters fees. You don't pay estate duty. But if your estate is worth more than 3.5 million rand, then you pay estate duty on that. And then up to a certain point, and then it's 20% estate duty, by the way, 20% on everything more than 3.5 million. And then when it goes higher than that, then there's a different sliding scale that comes in, and I don't know after all the figures off by heart. So one of the biggest things that's important is estate planning, because if you do estate planning and you have more than 3.5 million in your estate, then it's time to start making sure that you manage that estate. That's where people start doing trusts so that they can go and put their assets in trust so that it's out of their estate and therefore doesn't attract estate duties. So there's a lot that I can tell you about estates and wills. This was a very brief, quick overview. I think if you've got more specific questions, then you ask it. But I think if people just know this little bit that I've now spent 4 or 5 minutes on explaining, then already you've got a good idea of what an estate is, why you should have a will, and then if you don't have one, do one tomorrow. A will, the wonderful thing about a will is the one document that you can change every day of your life. You can draft a new will every day of your life, and what the law says is the will that is correctly signed by you and 2 witnesses, the will with the most recent date is the valid will. So you don't have to cancel your old wills or tore them up or anything like that. It's literally, you can draft a will every day, and the will that you draft the day before you pass away is the one they're going to use. Okay, hope that helps you. Webster, good evening. Which company funeral plan is the best? Webster, my man, you've just touched on something here. Which company's funeral plan is the best and pays out fastest after death? Webster, I think, I don't think funeral plans are good. Honestly, I don't think funeral plans are good. All companies says that their funeral plan pays out within 48 hours. Now, everybody thinks that when they say it pays out within 48 hours, they think it's 48 hours after death. It's not correct. There's certain documentation that you have to hand in to the company before they pay out. And then, yes, if they process it, then they can pay out within 48 hours. But the one thing that you need is the official death certificate. Now, the official death certificate you do not get for a few days. The Department of Labor, is it? I'm not sure. Some other government department issues that official death certificate only a few days after you've passed away. And then you have to submit that and a death claim form and ID, the copy of the person's ID and proof of bank details. So there's a list of documents that needs to go in. And only when all of that is in, then do they pay out. So you're never going to get it 48 hours after death. That's the first thing. The second thing is funeral plans are expensive, my man. If you go and take out life cover, okay, everything is worked out as a premium per 10,000. So if you take out a life policy, 500,000 million doesn't matter. Then they go and they calculate the premium and they say, okay, your life policy is going to cost you, let's say, 10 Rand per 10,000 Rand cover. But on a funeral policy, it is 2 to 3 times that amount. You're going to pay 20 to 30 Rand. You're going to pay 100 to 150%, even 200% higher for the funeral cover. So what happens is people take out a funeral policy for 50,000 Rand and then they pay 300 Rand a month, and then they could have taken out a life policy for 300,000 Rand for the same premium. So to me it is, I don't know, but to me it's a waste. I always say to people that if you do pass away and you lie in those wonderful refrigerators that Afpop has, Afpop will make an arrangement with your family as to how they're going to pay for your funeral. They're not going to let you lie there for the next 3 months because they need that the refrigerator to be empty so that they can put in the next person, next person, next person. That's how they make their money. So it is my honest opinion that if you have a life policy that's going to cost you less than a funeral policy, it's better to have the life policy. And maybe it's going to take a week or 2 or 3 weeks longer for that to pay out. But who cares? You're going to make a plan. I have spoken, or I've helped numerous clients in the past with family members who passed away. And they went to a funeral home. The funeral home said, well, we need this money. And they know there's life cover that's going to pay out, but they can't lay their hands on it. And then they contact me, and then I speak to the funeral house, and I say, well, we can give you a letter to prove that the client has a life policy. The life policy is beneficiated to this person, and that person can then come and pay you once the life policy pays out. And then they say, okay, sharp, let's carry on. So there's ways and means. You can go and put it on your credit card. I hate saying that. You can use your emergency fund. You can make a plan because it's going to be a few weeks, and then you'll have the money, and then you can go and pay it off. Ironically, with one of my clients, we did exactly that. The letter, the funeral was done, everything was planned, everything went through, no problem. The funeral house contacted me about 14 months later, and I said, so when is this person going to pay? The money paid out literally 13 months previously. But the funeral house was willing to do it. They just didn't keep the accounting up, and the person forgot to go and pay, but it was sorted out. So funeral plans, I am not a fan of funeral plans. I know that millions of people think that you have to have a funeral plan. Man, you don't have to have a funeral plan. Just go and save up money or take a life policy. Do some planning. You can do much better with different products. Okay, Webster, I hope that helped. Put me on my soapbox for a second or two. Hi, Kone, are unit trusts good for long-term investment? Nthudu, yes, it is. A unit trusts are indeed good for long-term investment because unit trusts are shares that's grouped together, and depending on the type of unit trust that you choose, you can choose one with low risk, medium risk, high risk. So it's an excellent investment for long-term. The only thing about unit trust is that one should know how the capital gains tax implication works on that. And the simple rule of thumb is that if your tax rate is less than 30% or 30% or lower, then a unit trust is ideal for you. But if your tax rate is higher than 30%, then an endowment would be more beneficial to you. The other thing that people must also understand with unit trust is when that unit trust is withdrawn at that stage, they give you all the money. And then only do you pay capital gains tax out of those funds. But you only pay it at the end of the year when you do your tax return. Because that's when SARS will see how much you've drawn, what the capital gain was, and then only do they say, okay, you owe us X amount for that. And some people don't like that because they get to that point and then they've forgotten about the fact that they have to pay capital gains tax, and then they feel that they've been done in. So that's the one thing that one has to remember with capital gains tax. So on an endowment, obviously, you're taxed within the product, and because you're taxed within the product, there's no tax. It's after tax money. So yeah, unit trust, absolutely excellent. Lots of unit trust funds and portfolios. So unit trust, portfolios, or portfolios is the one that you use in an endowment. Many of these correlate, meaning that they look basically exactly the same. So whether you are investing in the unit trust or endowment, you are most probably going to end up with exactly the same return at the end of the period if your tax rate was 30%. But you will be better off out of the endowment if your tax rate was higher, and better off in the unit trust if your tax rate was lower. Okay, I hope that helps you, mate. So let's see who's next here. Charlene. Speaking of wills and trust, what happens if the nominated executor dies? That's not really a big problem, Charlene. I am executor or nominated executor on lots of clients of mine's wills. And what will happen in the event that I do pass away, and let's say I pass away tomorrow, and then one of my clients pass away, then that will go to somebody else that can help. So any of my advisors can take it, and they can take it to a lawyer or a chartered accountant, who then basically reports the estate to the master of the court. So there's a whole bunch of documents that you get to complete when somebody passes away, and that gets sent to the master of the court, who must then say, okay, this estate is going now, and the executor can start working on it. And with it will go a letter to say, Corday has passed away. He was the nominated executor. Since he is not here anymore, the family has asked that I, as the financial advisor that's part of his company, or I, that is the lawyer that normally helps in this, or they're happy that I take it over. Can I be the executor of the estate? And then the master of the court normally says, fine, that's fine. You were all part of the same company, or you were all in a working agreement, whatever the case might be. The family is happy. So that's what happens. It often happens that an executor does not actually want to act as the executor on the estate for various reasons. And then they actually sign a letter to say, I am not going to be the executor on this estate. And then that letter that gets handed in with the will and with a new appointment. The family then normally finds somebody else that they want to be the executor. And that letter goes in to say that the one executor has recused himself, and the new executor is this one that we've chosen, and then the master will appoint it. So it's really not a big problem when somebody such as me as the executor passes away. Snazzy girl, snazzy name. My in-laws want to leave their estate to my daughter, not my husband. Does it go into trust for her? So, Snazzy girl, I don't know how old your daughter is, but yes, it would be advisable that the inheritance goes into a trust for your daughter. Now, I don't know why the in-laws doesn't want to leave the money to your husband, but here's one of the things. If your daughter has a bank account that you manage for, if your daughter is going to inherit a life policy, because remember, you can beneficiate your daughter as the beneficiary on a life policy. Anybody leaves cash or that behind for your daughter, or a life policy or anything like that. If there is no provision for a trust for somebody to manage this money, this money must be paid into your daughter's bank account. So let's say your daughter is 6 years old, and now there's 2 million rand in cash from a life policy that pays into their bank account. Two things happen. Number one, your daughter is 6 years old. She's got an ATM card. She can go and play around with that to draw all the money if she wants. Number two, whoever is a guardian, be it you, be it your husband, that helped her to open the bank account because she's underage, also has access to those funds because you are the guardian. So let's say, Snazzy Girl, that your husband is bad with money. That is why the in-laws doesn't want to leave the money to him. It could mean that he will use all the money that's been left for your daughter because he is the guardian. He can do as he sees fit. So yes, if your in-laws would like to leave the money to your daughter, my recommendation to people is make provision in their estates. They should make provision in their wills, rather, for a trust and put the money in a trust. And then I also recommend to people that they say that this trust must go on until that person reaches the age of 40. And I know everybody's going to go, wow, 40, are you crazy? I want my kid to have the money when they're 18 or 21 so they can do what they want with it. I don't know many children that gets to the age of 18, 20, 25 that are financially disciplined. And what happens is if a child is that young and they get a lot of money, they normally spend it, they waste it. So children, any age, younger age, chances are 99% that that child is going to squander what you have saved and preserved for them all your life. So I normally say to people, make the trust until the age of 40. The trustees will then manage the funds, and the trustees has discretion. It means that the trustees now becomes the people that looks after that child's inheritance as if that child is their child. They must work with financial discipline with their child. So if that child comes to them and says, listen, I want to go to university, I say, fine, there's money in the trust, will pay for your university fees. If that child comes to them and says, listen, I want to go and cruise the world on a motorbike, they can say, no, sorry, we're not going to let you waste your money, so can't do that. And then at the age of 40, and that's why I always say at the age of 40, if you get to the age of 40 and you still have not learned financial discipline, chances are you're never going to learn financial discipline, so it doesn't really matter whether you get the money or not. So what I'm saying to you is the trust and the trust age is important, and the trustees can, on their discretion, decide to give the child more money or all the money before that 40-year-old age if they believe that it is to the benefit of that person. I hope it helps you, Snazzy Girl. And don't tell your husband I said he'll lose all the money. Let's see. Mookie, FSCA wants to ban anyone giving financial advice on social media. Did you see the bill? Well, mate, if the FSCA wants to do that, then I suppose that every person advertising motor sales or advertising the selling of houses or talking about a new diet, they're going to have to ban all of that. And I give financial advice in a generic matter, so I give factual information. And if they want to ban factual information, well, I suppose then they must do that. At the end of the day, I believe that if somebody like myself sits here and you ask me a question, a specific question, and you say, I've got R1 million, where must I invest it? I say to you tonight, take your R1 million, go to company A tomorrow, put it in the fund that's called XYZ, put it in there for 3 years, and that's where you have to put it. Then I've given you financial advice. And that I don't agree with, because I can't give advice like that unless I understand your circumstances. So if the FSCA wants to ban something like that, then by all means, then I agree with it. But I don't think the FSCA can ban a channel like mine where I'm informing people and I'm giving them information. I'm educating them. Okay, so don't worry about that. I'm not too worried about it, Bookie. Philip Esterhuizen. I could next year I'll be 55. One of my investments is 4 million or 4 million come loose. What will you do? Philip, I will come and talk to me. That's the first thing I'll do, mate. Philip, I can't tell you. I would love to give you an answer, and I think that that actually ties in with what I just told Mookie now. I can't tell somebody like yourself, take your 4 million rand, go put it in a bank or put it in there, or take 50% here and 10% there. And the reason why I can't tell you, sir, is even though you are turning 55, I have no idea what your income and expenditure is like, when you want to retire, what your assets and liability is like, whether you are conservative or aggressive investor, whether you need to get rid of debt, whether you want to make provision for beneficiaries. So there's a lot of things that I need to find out about you before I can give you an informed decision. Because for somebody that's got no beneficiaries, nobody to care about in the world, they can take that 4 million rand, and if they've got plenty of other money, they can really go nuts in terms of what they're going to do with it. They can go into the most risky alternative investments, whatever the case they want. But somebody else that has a family that they have to look after, and they want to make provision for that family, and they want to make sure that they financially looked after, they're going to have to be a bit more conservative, and they might need an income. So Philip, like I said, what I'll do is I'll come and speak to somebody like me, somebody that is willing to sit down and really get information, find out what your actual needs are, and then give you advice based on that. Hope it helps you, Philip. Christian Eberson, if you a property of 1.6 million, will it be worth it to be? If you, I suppose, if you have a property of 1.6 million, will it be worth it to put it in trust? So, Christian, if it's only one property of 1.6 million, no, I can't see any reason for you to go and put it in trust. The only reason that you would want to put a property like that in trust is if you want to protect it from creditors, okay? And then obviously if you want to protect it for future generations. But if you just have this 1.6 million, your estate is less than 3.5 million, then it's not going to have an impact really on your estate duties and stuff like that. Now the thing is, if you've got a property of 1.6 million, excuse me, and you put it into trust, remember, then you have to pay the transfer fees again, eh? So there's a big cost implication with regards to that. I don't know how long you're going to stay in this property. Are you 80 years old that you basically never going to move out of the place, or are you like 30 years old and there's a possibility that you're going to sell and buy somewhere else, sell and buy somewhere else? So depending on where you are in your life, what the rest of your assets is like, that decision about whether it's going to be good to put it into a trust or not will depend on your journey that you're going forward, on your planning journey into the future. And here's the one thing I can tell you: if you are going to sell this property somewhere in the future and buy a new property, well, then it becomes a different story. Then you can say, okay, well, when I sell this property, the next property I'm going to buy directly in that trust. And the benefit of that is then the transfer fees happens directly into the trust. It's a once-off transfer fee. You don't have to put it into your name, pay transfer fee, and then into trust again, there's transfer fees again. Okay. This is purely from a protection point of view with your assets. You must remember that there's different tax rules and tax brackets on trusts. So you need to manage your trust well. It's all nice and dandy to have a trust and have your assets protected in a trust, but you must understand the workings of a trust so that you do not incur a lot of extra tax which you were not ready for. There's accounting that needs to be done in the trust. So there's a few things that needs to be taken into consideration. Trusts are wonderful vehicles to be used for planning. But yeah, you have to do it for the right reason. Okay, there you go. Let's see. People, it's one of those scrolling through and then somebody disappears. Wow, suddenly there's a lot of questions. Folks, I'm going to have to start speaking quicker, it seems like. Sorry, folks, I'm just going back here. I'm trying to find a few. There we go. That one we've been to, that one we've been to. Okay, I want to invest 5,000 in 5 years. Which company pays better on JSE? Mshlange, I've said it a million times now, mate. I can't give you that advice. I can't tell you that Old Mutual pays better than Sanlam, or Sanlam pays better than Liberty, or Liberty pays better than Discovery. If I do that, man, I am putting myself out there for so much trouble. As a matter of fact, there's so many companies that you can go and invest money with that will give you better than the JSE, because you must probably talking about the JSE top 40 here. Plenty of companies, plenty of funds. What you need to do is find a financial advisor, do planning with him, for yourself, and then decide where you're going to invest. Okay, but I'm not going to be able to give you a straight answer on that, mate. Nant Barre in Nant Webster. Pleasure, thanks, Webster, sorry. Casper Groenewald, Cornelius, it's still a good time to invest in SA as of the look of things currently happening in SA. Yes, Casper, it is. It's a brilliant time to invest in South Africa, actually. We just had a session yesterday, and because of what's happening with Mr. Donald Trump and his announcements and what's happening on the world markets, there's certain portfolio managers who are actually moving a lot of funds back to South Africa because South African shares are looking better at this stage than a lot of international shares. I'm not saying they're moving everything back, but they're moving some of it back. So yes, South Africa is still a good place to invest. I think we are in a fantastically unique situation in South Africa, that we can invest anywhere we want in the world. We can invest in South Africa, UK, Europe, Japan, China, you name it. You can invest wherever you want. And because we are sitting where we're sitting, you can make use of the depreciating rand. If you believe it's going to keep on depreciating, you can make use of investments that you know that even if it gives you a 5 or 6% return on investment because of the rand dollar depreciation, you are going to score into the future. You can go and put a portion of your money in South Africa, a portion internationally. So we are in such a wonderfully unique situation in South Africa that I think other countries might not be in the same unique situation because they do not have the freedom of investment that we have, and they do not have the currency. I almost want to say, what do they call it? The currency foresight that we have. So yes, Casper, I absolutely believe it is. I do not often invest all of our clients' money in South Africa anymore. Not. Just because of the options that we have with regards to international investments. It makes sense to go and split people's money depending on their risk profile, how much risk they can take between South Africa and international investments. And then that split very often gives us an indication of whether it should be 50-50, 30-70, 70-30, whatever the case might be. But absolutely, Casper, I think it's a good place, South Africa, to still invest. KKO, how to you ensure your will is found by your family members after death? Okay, so KKO, number one is the company that drafts the will for you. Make sure that they keep the original, okay? The companies must put it in safeguarding and whatever to make sure that it's protected. So that's the first thing. Get the original, or let the company drafting the will and the people that's going to be the executor, let them keep the original. Then with regards to your family finding out, what I normally say to people is make a copy and give that copy to your spouse or seal the envelope and say to them, you can only open this on the day that I die. And if you want to, make 5 copies and give it to different people so that if the one person has lost it, there's 4 others that maybe have it. So very often when it comes to families where there's wives and children, I very often say, okay, you've got 4 children and a wife, make 5 copies, give each of them one and just tell them that they must keep it like that. And then because they have a copy of the will, they will know who to contact for the original so that they can go through with it. Marie, I have 250k extra money to invest. Well, Marie, congratulations, mate. I'm happy for you. Don't know what you want me to make with that statement. Okay, let's see. Please share about retail bonds, mate. What can I say? I don't like retail bonds. I honestly don't like retail bonds. And the fact of the matter is, all a retail bond is a guarantee from government that they are lending money from you and they will give you a certain amount of money back in the future. So they lend from you 100,000 Rand and they promise you that if you let us keep this money for 5 years, we'll give it back after 5 years, your 100,000 Rand plus 10.5% for argument's sake. But that 10.5% is taxable because it's interest. So I don't like retail bonds. I think that if you want to go and invest in retail bonds, you must be a pretty conservative person. You want to protect your money. You want to make sure that nothing happens to your money. That's when you invest in retail bonds. But personally, I almost never advise anybody to go with bonds. Even when I have conservative investors, I put them in a fund that has retail bonds inside of the fund. But I never advise anybody to go into retail bonds. So yeah, it's just, I don't think it's a good investment. Who would you recommend to assist with foreign taxation exemption? Oh, Marie. Okay. I can't tell you the person's name and number now because I have to go and find it on my phone. But the one guy is Kevin McKenzie. That's the one guy that I use. There is another guy who is even better with that. So, Marie, what you can do is, in my profile is my WhatsApp number. You send me your details, contact number or whatever, and you tell me what you want, and I will refer you to somebody that is absolutely brilliant with foreign taxation. Like I said, I've got two people, but I can't remember the other person's name because we haven't spoken a long time. We haven't had to do a lot with foreign taxation for a while, but I've got him on speed dial when I need him. So let me know and I'll help you out. But Casper, encourage more viewers. Oh, that's a statement. Thank you very much. Snore choppies. Apparently because the tax bracket have not been increased, we get less on our salary. Choppies, how is that possible? And because the tax bracket has not been increased, we get less than our salary. No, you get the same on your salary. I mean, if your tax bracket was 31% and you're earning 10,000 Rand before the tax season of 28th February, before we had the budget, then you're going to get exactly the same now. So, the one thing that has changed is the VAT. That has changed a bit, but that does not have an influence on your salary. It's got an influence on the goods that we buy. So it's a different taxation. But yeah, Snort Choppies, whoever told you that, once again, is uninformed, but they just want to sound like they're smart. Okay, so let's see who we got next year. Oh, you know what? I saw Hein down now. I should have asked him to come on live. Because they are not how to use Western money or to be slave. Okay, Marie, I do not understand your next message here. Because they are not, though, how to use investment money, you are slave to the master. Okay, yeah, Marie, sorry, mate, can't get that one. Nalini Naidu, appointing my kids, age 36 and 40, the executives of my estate. What are the steps they follow? So, Nalini, the one thing that I want to say to you is I don't think it's a good thing to appoint your children as executives of the estate. I don't think it is a good idea to appoint any family members as the executive of your estate. The family member is already emotionally involved. The second thing, they are in tears, they're crying, they miss you, and now they have to go battle through all of these legal stuff after your death. So I don't like doing that. Second thing is with regards to any executors that is appointed in a will as the executor. The only people that can officially handle estate is lawyers and chartered accountants. So even for myself as a nominated executor on many of my clients' estates or on their wills, in the event of one of my clients passing away, I bring one of the lawyers that I've got on my panel in. I sign a letter to say that they will be assisting me, and they are the ones that then handle it effectively, and I am the go-between and the help between my clients and the lawyer doing this. So the first step is you're going to have to find somebody that can help you to register this estate with the master. Now that already is a headache, and I'll tell you why it's a headache, because it's a stack of documents like this. Trust me, with every estate that we handle, we have to send an email to people and say, we want all of these documents. Lots of those documents people normally can't even find. So that's the first problem. The second problem with regards to that is the document that needs to be completed that goes to the master is a tricky or difficult document to complete. So don't worry about the steps. They're just going to have to get hold of a good lawyer or good chartered accountant that can assist them. And yeah, like I say, nominate somebody else. Don't put that burden on your children. It's not worth the money that is paid. Trust me, folks, the money that is paid to an executive for handling an estate, it's worth the money over and over. And you don't feel it. You've passed away. I know that sounds cruel, but you don't feel it. You've passed away. The beneficiaries that's inheriting, man, they must be glad even if they get 100 Rand out of your estate, because it's money for jam. It's a gift. And if anybody is upset about a gift because they have to pay a certain amount of money out of that estate, then they are not deserved of that gift. Okay, Naleen. Let's see what else we've got here. If I withdraw money from my pension before retirement, will this affect my tax-free benefit? If you're talking about your tax-free benefit at retirement on the 1/3, no, it won't affect it. But what it will do is it will seriously penalize you now, because whatever you withdraw from your pension fund before retirement, you only get 27,500 tax-free. The rest is taxed. So that's the first problem. You pay a lot of tax. The second problem is that money that you've saved up. You needed that in pension time. You needed that when you go into retirement. And now you have to start catching up with it again. You're not going to catch it up. Trust me. Everybody says, yeah, no, I need the money now. I'm going to use it now because I have to pay off my bond or this, that, the other. And you know what? Then I'll save money to make up that money. They never do. So do yourself a favor. Don't withdraw your money from your pension fund. Transfer it to a preservation fund. Okay, MB, that's it. Before I get completely on my soapbox. Is it better to retire in a pension fund or invest the money elsewhere? Naleen, depending on the type of pension fund, okay? So some companies, when you retire with them, they do not offer you a pension vehicle, meaning a living annuity or a life annuity. You physically have to take the money and go and invest it with a different company. So it depends on the company that you're with and where your pension fund is, whether you can retire from their pension fund or whether you have to move your money away. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, if you are with a pension fund where they say, okay, if you stay with us, we will still pay 50% of your medical aid, we will still give you this, we'll still give you that, might be a very good idea to stay with them because of the added benefits that you get. But the proof is in the pudding, and when I say the proof is in the pudding, when you go into retirement and they give you the values, they will tell you what your pension is going to be, what the guarantees is going to be, etc., etc. And you can take those figures and you can ask a financial advisor to compare it for you with other financial products. And then one can see which is going to be better. So if you retire from company A and they say your pension is going to be 20,000 Rand a month, and I can see it's a 5-year guaranteed and lifelong thereafter plan, and I go and do an exactly the same apples for apples life annuity with an insurer, and I see I can get you 22,000 Rand a month instead of 20,000 Rand a month, also on a 5-year guaranteed and lifelong, then it's going to be better to move the money. So whether you leave it with the pension fund or move it, it will be determined literally in the month that you retire and you do your planning, or in the 2-3 months before you retire and you do the planning. That's when it will be determined what will be best. That's why it is important to go and get financial advice. And I know a lot of people say, no, but if I retire from the pension fund, then I don't have to pay costs. I don't have to pay commissions, whatever. You are paying commission, because the company that has done the pension fund, or the brokerage that's done the pension fund for your company, they are also the ones that's going to have to turn your pension fund into an income, a retirement income for you. And for that process, whether they've consulted with you or not, they are getting paid commission again. So you know what? Go and see a financial advisor, get a professional opinion, let them do calculations, and then you decide. Okay, Naleen, I hope that helps, my dear. Lucky star. That mosquito has been going around this cell phone now for the last 20-25 minutes, and I can't catch it. Trust me, I've tried once or twice. Yeah, I'm sorry, folks. I can't catch that little bugger. Just waiting until we finish here and I'm going to pursue him. Oh, shit. Now that's happened again. Let's see. Yeah. Would it be better to open a tax-free savings account myself or look to use a brokerage? So here's my opinion about it. If you're going to do it in the form of an investment, if you want to make use of an endowment or unit trust or something like that, then you have to make use of a broker or a brokerage, be it a broker that is a tied agent, meaning they work for an insurance company, or be it a brokerage where it's an independent. You're going to have to make use of somebody like that. If you want to open a tax-free savings account at the bank, then you don't need it because then you're making use of a bank savings account. I would say it is better to make use of a broker or a brokerage. And the only reason why I'm saying that to you is if you go to the bank and you do it in the form of a savings account, they're going to tell you we're going to give you 7 or 8 or 9% return or savings. But if you do it with a broker, they can go and look at the possibility of giving you a fund that's performing at 10 or 11 or 12%. And that should be performing at that. So yes, I would still make use of some financial advice before I do it. Let's see where we're going now. Is it wise to leave money into preservation fund or move it and invest it elsewhere? Sabella, I have said it so many times. If you've got pension or provident fund money and you leave your company, move it to a preservation fund. No discussion. There is nothing better to do. No, it's not better to draw the money, pay the tax, and then do your own investment. The best place to go with it is a preservation fund. There's no argument about it. Just as easy as that. Philip Esreisen, I'm single, not dead, ready to mingle. That 4 million going to be my pocket money. Whoa! Okay, Philip. If that 4 million is going to be your pocket money, then I tell you, you definitely have to make contact with me. Because I can help you to make investments via private clients, and it can be invested internationally. And because you're single, because it's pocket money, mate, you can play around with it. You don't have to worry about things that other people have to worry about. So call me, Philip. I'll show you some fantastic investments. You won't believe it. Dan die stoutgat varkie. Oom, ek belê in ou munte, silwer, goud ensovoorts en op. Dit is daar geen belasting nie. Wat sal oom nog voorstel? Dan, ek weet nie so mooi van die geen belasting nie. Sover ek weet is daar belasting op alle beleggings. Die enigste belegging sover ek weet wat nie belasting op het nie, is uitreaniteite en tax-free investments. Verder dan net alles belasting. Jou silwer en goud gaan belasting op hê. En weet jy wanneer gaan dit belasting op hê? Die dag wanneer jy het verkoop. Want jou silwer en goud wat jy gekoop het, het jy gekoop met 'n sertifikaat wat sê hierdie goudmuntstuk is werd R10,000. En wanneer jy die dag dit wil verkoop, dan moet jy daai sertifikaat saamgee, want dis die bewys van die waarde, dis die bewys van die egtheid. En as jy hom op daai dag verkoop vir R100,000, dan maak jy R90,000 profijt. En nou word dit kapitaalwinsbelasting, want dit is 'n wins wat jy maak op 'n kapitale belegging. So jy gaan kapitaalwinsbelasting op dit betaal. So daar is nie enige anders voorstel in die stoutgat varkie. Belasting gaan jy belasting betaal. So there you go. Nalene, what are your fees when you are managing the client's money in investment? So Nalene, on single premium investments, oh man, this is actually such a difficult question to answer. And the reason why I say it's difficult is because there's different commission structures for different investments. But let's just talk about the investment structures that has the highest commission, okay? So unit trust and endowments has the highest commission by law. And law says you can take anything between 0 and 3.5% as an upfront commission. Then law says the advisor can take anything between 0 and 1%, 0 and 1% as an ongoing advice fee. So that's what law says. My advice fee, my standard advice fee is 1% upfront and then 0.5% on an ongoing basis. So that's what I charge. There are some people and some investments that I'm willing to negotiate with, but I must be honest with you, not many people want to negotiate with me. Most people are happy. As a matter of fact, in the last 2 weeks, I've done investments for clients, and I said to them, okay, so what can I take as a fee? And they said, well, what do you want? And I said, no, this is what I can take, tell me. And they all offered me 2 and 2.5%, which I take as an absolute compliment, because I believe it's the value that I gave them that is worth the money. But there you go, Nalini, that is what my fees are. Let's see. Hi, what's your advice? What's your advice, my mother? I don't know. Sorry, maybe you made another comment that I missed. I don't know. Mickey, I'm 51, currently sick. I want to resign. Mickey, you say, I'm 51, currently sick. I want to resign. Will I get my pension fund if the doctors will the blue form? Well, Mickey, if the doctors are going to board you and they're going to say that you are disabled because of your sickness, then you don't want to resign from your pension fund. Because your company, if you've got a pension fund with your company, they most probably have a disability benefit for you as well. So if they've got a disability benefit, you're going to get a disability income. So you don't touch your pension fund until you get to actual retirement age, because the disability will pay out until that age. Now, if you do not have a disability benefit and you are forced to take your pension fund money, then you resign from your pension fund, because that's where the law makes the, what do they call it? When they allow you to do something different than what the actual legislation says, it's the exemption. Is if you become disabled before retirement, then you can retire out of your pension fund as if you are retiring at retirement age of 55 or older. So Mickey, I'm sorry to hear that you're sick, but don't just go and take your money. Trust me, mate, you're going to need that money much more in the future if you're sick than if you take it all now. Okay, what's the difference between government bonds and retail bonds? As far as I know, there's not much of a difference, to be honest. But government bonds would be the bonds that government offers, and retail bonds would be that which institutions offer. I think I'm right in that explanation, but I'll go and double check on that. GPF payout is taking forever to pay out. Mate, I know sometimes they are terrible. I do know that. I do understand that. I'm busy with 2 GPF payments at the moment. And again, it is taking longer than it should. Can't tell you why. Maybe it's a lot of claims. Maybe it's incompetency. I honestly don't know. Willem Insit, you get less. Not adjusted for inflation, school tax. Oh, thank you, Willem. Wonderful comment, mate. Not adjusted for inflation is called tax bracket creep. Okay, Willem, I'm so sorry that you feel that way. I'm not going into the technicalities here, Willem. I agree with you, mate. If your income has stayed the same for the last 2 or 3 years and you're in the same tax bracket, yes, then because of inflation, you are actually worse off. But that was not the question. So, Willem, be blessed, my man. I have a question. Johnny, go for it. Snort choppers, you're right. It could push you into another tax bracket. Okay, well, I'm going to ignore you now. What's next? Yeah. How long does it take to wind up an estate, and how much is going rate for an executor? So how long it takes depends on how big the estate is and a lot of other factors that's influenced there. Some estates are easy, and because they are easy, they shouldn't take more than 3 to 6 months. Other estates are very complicated and it can take years to wind up. Some people actually don't want to wind up an estate because they don't want to pay the cost of the transfers or whatever the case might be. So it's all technical little exercise at the end of the day. Going rate as an executor can ask you a maximum of 3.5% of the estate value. So that's the executor duty, is 3.5%. And 3.5% plus VAT, so it works out at 4.03%. That's approximately what the executor's fees works out to. Pleasure, Nylene, anytime. Oops, there's your firm. Folks, I see we are getting very close to 7 o'clock, so I'm going to try and rush through a few of these. So expect a few short answers, and then I'm going to have to call it a day. Does your firm have a fiduciary arm? No, I do not have a fiduciary arm. I have lawyers that I can make use of when it comes to estate duty and handling estates and so on. And I have companies that I can go to when we have to offer fiduciary services. As a matter of fact, the companies that I deal with, normally if the estate or the value of your investments is 5 million or more, they will do the fiduciary services for you free, gratis, and for nothing. So I don't do it in my firm, but I have all the necessary business partners that can help me. Constant Lawrence, what's your consultation fee and do you do consultation online? Yes, I do a lot of consultation online. Our offices are in Krugersdorp. I can't drive to everybody, so people can either come to my office in Krugersdorp or I will see them in the area where they are if I happen to be there. But I do a lot of consultations virtually via Teams and Google Meet. And what I ask is a consultation fee of 1,000 Rand for the first consultation. And from there, there's no further consultation fees unless me and the client that's seeing me agrees to any further fees or commission. Okay, Constant Lawrence, I hope that answers it for you, mate. All depends on the investment. Fees are dependent on the investment amount. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. If you don't want to pay fees, so here's the thing, we were talking about fees now quickly about what the upfront fees is and the ongoing fees is. But if you don't want to pay fees on an investment and you don't want it to be a percentage of your investment, let's put it that way, you can actually negotiate with the advisor and say, okay, listen here, I'm willing to pay you 1,000 Rand a month to manage my investment. And if you're willing to pay that, then the advisor can say, okay, good. Here's the invoice. I'll invoice you and I will not put a fee on the investment. So the fees are dependent on the investment amount, yes, if you want the fees to be paid from the investment. But if you're willing to pay it out of your own pocket, it becomes a different situation, whatever you negotiate with the advisor. Webster, what's a preservation fund? So in short, the preservation fund is that when you resign from a company, you've got a pension or provident fund. You can move that pension or provident fund to another investment house without any tax implications, and they will look after your money until the day that you go into retirement. They will keep on growing it, etc., etc. So you go to the new company, you work for the new company, you get a new pension fund, and you contribute towards that pension fund. But the money from your previous pension fund has been preserved without tax in the investment house, and therefore when you get to retirement now, you can retire from both the pension fund from the new company you're working for and from this pension fund. And preservation, the reason why it's called a preservation fund is because the company that you are with and that you're leaving, they don't want to look after your money anymore. They don't want to administrate and take that responsibility, so they're going to try and force you to take the money. So instead of them doing that, you move the money across without any tax implications and you preserve it there for the future. Okay, let's see how many we can. I'm saying in terms of using something like Easy Equities to form a total fees from it. W, once again, I don't deal in Easy Equities. I believe they were always cost-free. I believe they're not cost-free anymore. So it's up to every person. You know, I don't play mechanic on my own car because I don't care if I can save myself 5,000 Rand on the service fee of my car. At the end of the day, I take it to a specialist, I let them service my car, and I pay them the 5,000 Rand, and I've got peace of mind, everything is fine. If I do it, I'm going to save myself 5,000 Rand, but I'm going to frustrate myself for a whole day while I'm working in a car, and I'm not going to sleep with peace of mind because I'm not going to know if I've done everything right. That's why you use financial advisors. You can do it yourself. You can save yourself the cost. You can do the planning. You can do the research. You can do it yourself. But you make use of a professional like myself if you want professional services and you don't want to, you want that peace of mind. That's what it comes to. W, would you say gold is a good investment? If so, which form would you invest in? I don't deal in gold. I think gold is a good investment, but you have to understand gold and you have to be willing to be invested for a long time. Gold, I do not feel is something that one should buy and sell and play around with. And that's just because of the history of gold in terms of going up and down. But personally, I think it's a good investment. I just don't like investing in gold myself. So I can't really give you an opinion as to how good it is and in what form you should be investing in it. You talk to different people are going to have different opinions. Working for government as an educator and retiring, where or what advice can you give me to invest? No, the best advice I can give you is speak to a financial advisor that has your best interest at heart. Let them do the calculations and planning with you, and let them then advise you as to how you take your retirement and what you do with the extra funds. That is what I can give you as guidance. Hi, Corona, keep up the good work. Thank you very much, Ronnie. And folks, we're almost at the end here. Can you go in early retirement 55 years old and take the tax withdrawal? Yes. Remember, folks, people must get this thing about early retirement out of their heads. There is no such a thing as early retirement. Your company might say that you can retire at the age of 60, but you can choose to retire earlier at the age of 55. And anything from the age of 55, when you do retire, you can take your 1/3 and you will get your tax-free portions. Okay, big dog, if my 1/3 is 1.4 million, how much will tax be? Big dog, I do not have my little booklet with me and I can't work it out so quickly. So just send me this on a WhatsApp. WhatsApp number is my profile. I promise you, I'll do the calculation. I'll send you the answer. But I can't work it out in my head now. Let's see. Adrian, is daar 'n manier vir 'n beneficiary van 'n guaranteed life annuity om die tydperk verleng te kry? No, sorry, Adrian. Unfortunately not. When the guaranteed term has been set, it has been set. You cannot change that because that guaranteed term is basically what is used to determine the income that you get. So if you have a guaranteed term of 5 years, they're going to give you a bigger income than for the person that has a guaranteed term of 20 years. And that's why they can't change it, because now you've got an income of 10,000 Rand on a 5-year guarantee, where you would have gotten an income of only 8,000 Rand on a 20-year guarantee. So the moment you want to change it, it means that suddenly you want to have a longer guarantee but with the same income, and they're not going to allow that. Okay. Okay, folks, I do know that there's one or two answers that I didn't get to, but we are past the time. I am hungry. I need to go and get some supper, and then I need to get some rest. So I'm going to say thank you very much for everybody that's participated. I promise you, if you want some advice, contact me on the WhatsApp number on my profile. I will get back to you. I will try and answer your questions. I will give you whatever I can. I'll put you in contact with one of my advisors if necessary. And next week, Wednesday, 6 o'clock, I'll be back and we'll do this again. Okay. All the best. Have a wonderful week. Keep well. Bye-bye.